Hi, I'm Brittni De La Mora. Thanks so much for tuning in to eXXXamine, where we have real and raw conversations about porn and purity. Today's guest is a very special guest. He is a man who watched pornography for many years, starting from childhood to teenage years, and so today he's here to share his story with you, and I pray that it edifies you and encourages you today. Conroy, thanks so much for being with me here. Thank you for allowing me to interview you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. So I want you to share your story with me and just kind of tell me, like, when was the first time that you watched porn and how long did you watch it?
Yeah, so my first experience with porn was when I was about 7 years old. Mm-hmm. We were at my grandmother's house. My grandma, my mom, everybody was gone. It was just me and my sisters. And we were just watching TV, and all of a sudden my sister started flipping and then turned it on and left it on. Mm-hmm. And it was new. I didn't know what it was. And I feel like that was like the seed that was planted. And then pretty much it really picked up when I became like a junior, or in my junior high school years, like when I was around 8th grade. Mm-hmm. All the way up until junior year of high school is when it was like just like a regular thing.
And you were young when you were first exposed to it. How old were you?
7 years old.
7 years old. So how did you feel? Because there's a natural, like, just an innocence and a purity that God gives us at that age. So when you saw it, how did it make you feel?
It was like a weird feeling. Like I was like, I don't think I'm supposed to be watching this. And my body was doing things that I'd never experienced before. Mm-hmm. So it was really confusing. Yeah. But it was like, we just kept watching it. Mm-hmm.
Did you talk to anybody about how you were feeling afterwards?
No, absolutely not. No.
Why not?
At that time, I didn't really have anybody to talk to about that.
Yeah.
Like my dad was in and out of the picture. My mom, definitely not someone to talk to about that.
Right.
And my sisters, we all watched it together, so it was just like there was nothing to really talk about, and I didn't have anybody to talk to.
Yeah. So as a child, it was almost though you knew, like, this isn't something that I should be watching.
Yeah.
And your sister, you said your sister put it on. Was that something that she was looking for? Like, she was looking to put this on?
She was always the curious one out of us three. She was the middle one, and she turned it on. And I'm pretty sure my older sister just kind of told her to keep it on that channel, and we just kind of all watched it. I don't know how long, but it was like long enough to like, I was like, I don't think we should be watching this.
Yeah. So being that you really had this like conviction and you felt that it was wrong, like what was it about porn that made you want to keep watching it?
I think there was like a gap between like that time and then when I got to an older age, when I started hanging out with teenage boys, and then
hormones start raging.
Yeah. I now that I think about it, I remember us going to this gas station, and that was like easiest way to get it back then. Mm-hmm. And one of my friends showing me like, you need to look at this Playboy magazine. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I think one of them stole it, and then I had that, and then the internet started becoming a popular thing, and that just made it way more accessible after that.
Yeah, it does become more accessible with the internet. How do you feel like, when you first kind of started getting introduced to it as a young teenager, it was through a magazine, and now it's all over the internet. What type of impact do you think that makes on, the younger generation nowadays, like young kids, teenagers? Like, what kind of impact does that have on them?
I think it's crazy because it's right in front of their face.
Yeah.
Like, my generation had to work for it, and then even the generation before really had to work for it, but now it's like they can type in the right thing or accidentally the wrong thing, and it's right in front of their face. And I just think the kids now are just getting exposed to things so early that now they are facing deep, dark things earlier in their life, and it's just been hard to watch and hard to like relate, because it's like, you're going through this now. Yeah. And I went through this like a couple years later from when you are.
How young do you see? Because you're in the church now. You're a worship leader, and so I know that you see a lot of young youth and young adults. And what type of impact do you think that pornography makes on their minds, their souls? Like, how do you see them acting versus maybe how you acted when you were a child?
Yeah. So I'm seeing it as early as young middle schoolers, like 6th grade, and you can just see, not all of them, some of them, you can just see how they talk about girls or how they interact with girls. And even with the high schoolers now, it's like when they're in youth group or youth ministry, you can tell they're like, their mind is trying to focus on one thing, but there's a girl right in front of them, so they're focusing on another.
Yeah.
And I think what hurts me is that some of the girls I see are just so innocent, and some of them are there for a good reason.
Yeah.
And then the guys are like focused on them.
Yeah. So what type of conversations do you have with the youth when they open up to you about having a porn addiction? Or they may not even call it an addiction. It's just, hey, I'm watching this. Or if you see them being a certain way with a woman, like, or a teenage girl, like, what types of conversations do you have with them?
Yeah. Now it's just like letting them know that, like, imagine this is your sister.
Yeah.
Like, imagine this is somebody that is close to you. Would you want somebody else to look at them that way or talk to them that way or treat them that way? Because that's kind of what switched for me. I have 2 older sisters and then got a younger sister later in life. And once I started thinking about that, like, she's my sister.
Yeah.
And people would look at her a certain way. I don't want to look at anybody else that way or anybody else's wife that way.
That's so good. I love that. So you got to a place in your life where you were watching porn up until junior year of high school.
Yeah.
What changed? Because you got to this place where you no longer, like, you don't watch it anymore. And how did you get to that place? What changed in your life?
So in junior year of high school, me and my friends started to get serious with our relationship with the Lord. And one of our mentors just gave us a book, or recommended a book, Every Young Man's Battle. I didn't finish the book because it rocked me from like the first couple chapters, and it just was mainly talking about purity, which I never heard talked about before. And in that, it talked about our eyes and how our eyes were pretty much a gateway to our heart. It talked a lot about Matthew, where it talked about looking lustfully at a woman is pretty much committing adultery.
Yeah.
And I saw adultery so much in my family, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. So it gave me a reason of why this was wrong now. So I had a reason of not to look at these things. So literally my junior year of high school, I just started looking down. Every time I walked, I was just looking down in the hallways, looking down, because I'm like, I'm just trying to cover my eyes and kind of retrain my brain. So I just noticed a lot of people's shoes at that point, and that's kind of what switched. And then me and my friends just actually started talking about it.
Right.
And I think that's where this switch happened. We actually all kind of started talking about it and like being, hey, what's triggering you to watch this? Or what's happening to make you watch this?
I love that, because that's what we need, is that if we want to have stability, we need accountability.
Yeah.
And so you set yourself up in that way, because now you don't feel alone in this, but you had your group of boys that you were able to come out and talk about it and process with. And so there's always so much freedom and transparency, and like Revelation says, that we overcome the evil one with the blood of the Lamb and with the word of our testimony. And so when we're able to share our story, not only does it set us free, but it sets other people free as well. And that's what you're doing today. You are setting people free by sharing your story. And so what I want you to do is I want you to look in the camera, and I want you to encourage that, whether he's a young boy or a man that is struggling with an addiction to pornography, and I just want you to encourage him today.
If this is something you are struggling with, I encourage you to talk to somebody about it. It's not something to be ashamed of, but it is something to bring to light. And I feel like that is going to bring freedom for you. When you can talk to somebody about it and have a community behind you, that's where change happens.
It's so good. Thank you so much for allowing me to interview you today. Conroy, a huge part of his healing came from a book, and at eXXXchurch.com, we have so many resources for you there. We have our blogs, we have X3 Watch, which is an accountability software. And so what I want you to do is I want you to browse around the website, and I want you to get all the help that you need there. I want you to do what Conroy said and open up to somebody and ask for help, but I also want you to really really start to find these resources so that you can get the help that you desire. We at the eXXX Church are here for you. We love you, we believe in you, and we are praying for you. Thanks so much for watching Examine, where we have real and raw conversations about porn and purity. My name is Brittni. I used to be an adult star. I met Rachel several times at the eXXXA conventions. She would know me as Jenna Presley. I would stop by at the eXXX Church booth to see her. She is so beautiful, and I absolutely love and adore her. I want to give her the most amazing praise report. Thank you, Jesus. I found him. I'm home. I want to thank her for all of her kind words and loving spirit. I don't know if she realizes how she impacted me or not, but her being so kind and non-judgmental always felt so good. I have finally encountered the unconditional love of God, and I will never go back. Thank you for your time. Sincerely, Brittni. The eXXX Church has been a huge part of introducing Jesus to my life, and once I left the industry, they also helped me to not go back into the industry. Their support has truly helped radically change my life. They've also, over the last 20 years, helped hundreds of thousands of people get set free from their addiction to pornography. And so today, I'm asking for your help. Visit eXXXchurch.com/donate to give today to be a part of what God is going to do over the next 20 years in this ministry. I love you, God bless you, and thank you for your generosity.